I'm Raylene Lewis, Realtor with Century 21 Deal, and today I'm going to talk to you about just a few things that you can look for when purchasing a home. And what we're going to talk about is simply the exterior of the home, things to look for when you're viewing the exterior property. Now remember, I am not an inspector, just a realtor, so I won't know when looking at a property if there's something really wrong with it. All I'm telling you is advice on things that you can look for, things to consider. When you first go up to a home that you're thinking about purchasing, the thing to look at is the amount of parking space that's around the property and how the home sits on the lot. What you want to do is make sure that there is not water that is going towards the property, but the property is correctly graded and drained. And what that means is that your house is higher. The thing to kind of check out is the exterior corners. Now, because the property that we have here moves a lot, it's a very clay soil, you do tend to see cracking and displaced concrete. Notice here the concrete is separate from the brick. Now this is a normal thing, doesn't indicate any foundation problems, but it is something that does need to be regularly maintained by the homeowner. If you see a crack, like what's going on here, and you decide to purchase this property, what you want to do is be sure to, once a year, seal it with an exterior waterproof caulk. Now, if you don't, what happens is when the weather gets bad, it'll start to crack off like is what happened here, and this means that you don't have support for your brick, which is not a good thing. You want to make sure your brick has always got support. So this is about a $35 to $40 repair. Very easy, but should be done, and it's simply to have a mason come back out and put the concrete back so that the brick is supported. But in this case, it has nothing to do with the structural soundness of the property. Another thing I wanted to illustrate for you today is when you're walking up to a home, you might see dots. And they're not pink like this. I drew this to illustrate about how far apart they were to be easy to be seen. But if you see like little concrete circles, approximately every 6 inches or so, going around the exterior foundation of the property, what that does is that tends to indicate that the property has had termite treatment. Another thing you can look for when walking up to the property, and again I've illustrated this in pink chalk, but normally it would just be concrete, again, that has been displaced from the original concrete on the ground, is if you see concrete squares that are cut out approximately every 4 feet, if this was concrete squares that were cut out and then refilled with concrete, that would tend to indicate that what has happened is there's been some foundation repair and that those are piers that were put in under the slab. So that's something else you look for when you're walking up to the home. Okay, and when you're looking at the exterior of the home, remember how I said you want to make sure that those two corners are together, that there's no separation in between, because typically if there is movement, the movement on the roof, on the attic, would be different than on the wall. And when the house was built, these two pieces of wood were put together and sealed. So if there's any movement, then you would see pulling away at that seal point. Another thing you can do is look down the wall and see if the roof line is flat against the wall, the brick wall. So as long as you see that, that also tends to indicate that there is no movement on this property. When you're looking at the exterior front or back of the home, some other things to pay attention to are your windows. Now, if your window is cloudy a little bit or appears to have droplets of water, that tends to indicate that the seal has been broken. And when you're looking at having to replace those windows because you can't fix them when they have the broken seal, that's approximately $200 a window. So that can get very expensive very quickly. So you want to make sure that your windows look clear. If when you're looking at the window, you see what appears to be maybe a light green tint, that tends to show that those are low E windows, which means that they're more energy efficient. That slight tint helps keep the sun out and thus provide you with lower utility bills. Another thing to look at when you're looking at your windows is, especially when you're considering an older home, is are there a single pane glass or double pane glass? The energy efficiency is a lot better for your utility bills if the glass is double paned versus single paned, and also if you have vinyl windows versus aluminum. One other thing you can look at when you're looking at the top, at the exterior windows of the house, is right up here. You can see how they're white. Oops, mosquito. These right here are lintels, and this homeowner has painted the lintels white to help keep them from rusting. That is something else that you need to look at, and typically a regular maintenance item. If you don't paint your lintels, they'll just eventually start to. All right, well, that about wraps up our viewing for what to look for on exterior homes. Join me next time, and we'll talk about things that we can look at on the interior of a home. And thanks for joining us. Again, my name is Raylene Lewis, and I'm Realtor with Century 21 Beal in College Station, Texas.